Hey all, welcome to another edition of Miss Cheek's Book Recommendations. This week, our focus is mythology and fairy tales from around the world. And Percy Jackson fans, hang in there, because I think our second book just might be for you. This week, there are no Prince Charmings, no Cinderellas, no Lokis, no Thors, no Zeuses and Heras that we all know and love from the classic European mythologies and fairy tales. Instead, there's an ancient man on the moon who can predict your future from Chinese mythology. There are ugly and snotty demons from Bangladeshi and Indian mythology. And there are trickster gods galore in many shapes and forms from Native American mythology. So, without further ado, let's hop right into this special series called Around the World in 80 Tales. A diverse mythology and fairy tale collection. Our first diverse title in this series is Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. It's a Newbery Award-winning title that is based in traditional Chinese lore and mythology. Has anyone here ever wanted to make friends with a real-life dragon? Well, Min Lee has always heard stories from her father about real-life dragons, but she's never really met one. She's just a boring girl from a boring farming village at the foot of a fruitless mountain that sits along the dirty Jade River, and she has nothing but 2 coins to her name. Day in and day out, her mother says, "If only we could find a way to change our bad fortune. We're such poor farmers." But Min Lee and her father keep high spirits, and they do this by telling amazing stories about old dragons, men on the moon, and royalty and leaders of the past. But one day, things really do change when a goldfish seller comes to town claiming his goldfish can change the fortune of anyone who owns one. Min Lee, remembering her mother's words about their misfortune, buys the goldfish with one of the only coins that she has left in order to change their family's fortune and make her mother happy. However, the goldfish does not immediately change their fortunes, and Min Lee is forced to set it free because it's only become a burden by eating the rest of the little food that the family has. Sadly, Min Lee takes it to the river, but something strange happens when Min Lee releases the fish into the Jade River. It begins to talk. The goldfish tells Min Lee how she can change her fortune, but it will take a dangerous and arduous journey to find the man on the moon who entwines everyone's fortunes and can read a special book that tells the fortune of everyone. Surely he will be wise enough to tell her how to change her family's fortune. On her journey, Min Lee will have to face dragons, and kings, and buffalo, and goddesses, and evil green tigers. Oh my! Will Min Lee make it to the man on the moon? Will she finally learn how to truly change her family's fortune? And what other consequences will there be for her running away from home to pursue the answers? Only you can find out in this beautifully illustrated chapter book, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. Alright, my fans of Percy Jackson, I know you're out there. This next diverse mythology title recommendation is for you. If you like the Percy Jackson series and are dying to have more of that, you need to check out The Serpent Secret by Sayantani DasGupta. Based on tales from Indian and Bangladeshi mythologies, this title is a real thriller that takes you on a journey of danger and mystery. Our main character, Kiran for short, is a normal girl living in New Jersey with her immigrant parents who moved to America from India and now own a local convenience store. They have always told her that she is a real Indian princess all her life. But isn't that just like metaphorical? Doesn't every set of Indian parents want their little girl to be their very own Indian princess? Well, when her parents suddenly disappear on her 12th birthday and only leave behind a cryptic birthday card, a blank piece of paper, and a map that is completely blank, she finds that she actually is a real-life Indian princess and that her real birth parents are not the ones she's known all these years. However, her now adoptive parents and the ones she loves and who have raised her all her life are still gone, and she must find them and bring them back home. However, when her plans are put on hold when an interdimensional demon called a Rakash bursts into her house and attempts to eat her, Princess Karan is saved from a terrible fate by being eaten by this demon in the form of two interdimensional Indian princes who help knock out the monster and take her away on flying horses? The princes, Lal and Neil, reassure Karan that they know where her adoptive parents might be and how they might be able to help get them back. But they are going to have to go on a dangerous journey with many trials in order to rescue them. Will Karan ever figure out who her birth parents are and get to meet them? Will she be brave enough and smart enough to face all the trials she must face in order to bring her adoptive parents home? Only you can find out these answers when you read the illustrated chapter book, The Serpent Secret by Sayantani DasGupta. And if you like this book, it is a series, so go ahead and pick up the next one or two as well. What are some mythologies that we all know? Greek mythology with Zeus, Hera, Artemis, and Hades. Norse mythology with Thor and Loki, Odin and Freya. What about fairy tales? We all know Cinderella, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and even The Little Mermaid. But you already know all those tales. I bet what you don't know is that, like other mythologies, Native Americans have their own too. In fact, today I bring you a whole collection of graphically illustrated trickster tales, so similar to Loki, the Norse trickster god, but from Native American storytellers in this title, Native American Tales, edited by Matt Dembicki. I guarantee that these tales are nothing like you've ever heard before. I would bet you have never heard the story of how the alligator supposedly got his dark green scales, or possibly why the geese fly in their V formation, or why buzzards are bald. Or maybe you have always wondered who painted all the constellations in the sky. What about the story of the clever mink who lost his fish because of his boastfulness? Or maybe how even a tricky rabbit fooled a full-grown wolf into letting him ride him like a bucking horse. And surely you've never heard of the tiny people called the Yahashuri who cause all sorts of trouble in our daily lives, and still do to this day. These are just a few examples of the kinds of trickery and tales you will hear from the Native American mythology anthology that I have for you today. Plus, as a bonus, all of these tales were told by actual Native American storytellers in collaboration with illustrators that they chose to work on with this anthology. Each tale has its own art style and storytelling style that is completely unique to anything you have ever seen before. So come check out this book, Trickster, Native American Tales, edited by Matt Dembicki, today. Today, we have seen that not all mythology stories are the same and have to be from the same cultures we already know to be fun and exciting. I encourage you to try out these titles presented in this book talk as a way to expand and learn about new stories and cultures that you may not be familiar with. You may even see yourself and your own life reflected in some of the characters' struggles as they face the trials and tribulations that, while a bit more magical than what we are used to, are remarkably similar to our own lives. So, let's gain some new perspectives by reading about the Chinese mythology-inspired novel Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin, the Indian and Bangladeshi mythology-inspired novel and series The Serpent Secret by Sayantani DasGupta, and the Native American mythology-inspired graphic novel anthology Trickster, Native American Tales, edited by Matt Dembicki. I hope you enjoyed the selection of titles that I brought to you today. So, go out there and read, and have fun.